Jobless husband said he's going on a business trip. But I found emails about his dying ex's last wish to see him. Now he has 2 days to come back home, or he's thrown out on the streets. My name's Lois, and I've been married to Jacob for 5 years. Things haven't been perfect, but whose life is? Here's the thing. Jacob lost his job about a year ago. We agreed he'd look for work while I covered the bills, but last week he told me he was going on a business trip, which was odd, considering he hasn't had a job in months. At first, I thought maybe he finally got a gig and didn't want to jinx it, but something felt off. He didn't seem excited or relieved like you'd expect. When he left, he took his laptop, which he barely used for job hunting. And it's not like we're swimming in cash for spontaneous trips. Curiosity got the better of me. Jacob had left his email open on our shared computer. Yes, I know, snooping isn't cool, but trust me, this was necessary. There, I found a series of emails that flipped my world upside down. Turns out, Jacob had been in contact with his ex, Zahra. The last email from her was a bombshell. She was dying, and her last wish was to see him. I was furious. This wasn't some casual catch-up. She had asked him to come stay with her for a few days, and he agreed, behind my back. I was pissed. Beyond pissed. Here I was, busting my ass to keep our heads above water while he was off on a secret trip to see his ex. An ex who, let's be real, he never really got over. I felt like such an idiot. How long had he been planning this? And why the hell didn't he tell me the truth? I decided then and there that I wasn't going to be some passive, waiting wife. I sent him a message. You have 2 days to come back home and explain yourself, or you're out on the streets. I wasn't messing around. I love him, but I deserve respect. And this sneaky crap wasn't going to fly. Those 48 hours were brutal. My mind raced with all sorts of scenarios. I pictured him sitting by Zahra's bedside, holding her hand, reminiscing about their past. Meanwhile, I was here, alone, stewing in anger and confusion. I couldn't focus on work. I could barely eat or sleep. Day 1 passed, and there was no word from Jacob. My anger mixed with a deep sense of betrayal. How could he do this to me? We were supposed to be partners, but he was off playing hero to his ex. By the second day, I was fuming. Then, the evening of the second day, Jacob finally called. His voice was tired, but I had no sympathy left. Lois, I can explain, he started. I cut him off. You better get your ass back here and explain in person, I snapped. You've got until midnight. He tried to argue, but I hung up. He needed to see how serious this was. Midnight came and went. No Jacob. I felt a mix of rage and heartbreak. I texted him again. You have until morning or don't bother coming back. At 7 a.m., just as I was about to leave for work, he walked through the door. He looked exhausted and disheveled. I didn't even let him put his bag down. Explain, I demanded. Jacob took a deep breath. Zahra's dying, Lois. She reached out to me because she has no one else. I couldn't just ignore her. His voice cracked. I'm sorry I didn't tell you. I didn't want to worry you. Worry me, I yelled. You lied to me. You made me feel like a fool. You're supposed to be my husband, Jacob, not some knight in shining armor for your ex. He sat down, defeated. I know. I messed up. But I needed to be there for her. She's dying, Lois. I couldn't just let her go through that alone. I felt a twinge of pity, but I was still furious. And what about us? What about our marriage? You can't just disappear whenever you feel like it. We need to work through things together. Jacob nodded, tears in his eyes. You're right. I'm so sorry. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. Please, Lois, don't throw me out. I sighed, the anger slowly draining from me. You have a lot to make up for, Jacob, and I mean a lot. This isn't something I can just forgive overnight. Over the next few days, things were tense between us. Jacob tried to explain more about Zahra's situation. Apparently, she had no family, no close friends left. She'd been living alone, battling her illness in silence, until she reached out to him. It tugged at my heartstrings a bit, but I was still hurt. Jacob promised to be more transparent. He even offered to show me his messages with Zahra. I read through them, and it was clear she was genuinely in a bad place. She wasn't trying to rekindle anything romantic. She was just scared and alone. That made me feel slightly better, but it didn't erase the betrayal. We started going to couples therapy. I needed to understand why he felt he couldn't tell me the truth from the start. He admitted he was afraid I'd react badly, that I wouldn't understand his need to help Zahra. "You're my husband, Jacob. I'm supposed to be your partner, not some obstacle," I told him during one session. Therapy was helping, but it was a slow process. Trust takes time to rebuild. Meanwhile, Zahra's condition worsened. Jacob wanted to visit her again, but this time he asked me first. We talked it through with our therapist, and I decided to go with him. I needed to see this situation for myself. Meeting Zahra was surreal. She was frail, a shadow of the vibrant woman Jacob had described. She was genuinely grateful to see both of us. She thanked me for letting Jacob come. That made things a bit easier. Seeing her so vulnerable, I realized it wasn't just about Jacob and me anymore. This was about helping someone in their final days. Zahra passed away a week later. Jacob and I attended the funeral together. It was a small, somber affair. Despite everything, I felt a sense of closure. We had done the right thing by being there for her, but now it was time to focus on us. The weeks following Zahra's death were a mix of relief and lingering tension. Jacob and I continued therapy, working through our issues. Trust was slowly being rebuilt, but it wasn't easy. There were days when I'd still get angry, remembering how he lied to me. But we were making progress. One evening, we had a long talk about our future. "I want us to be honest with each other, no matter what," Jacob said. "I never want to go through something like this again." I agreed. We both needed to be more open, more communicative. Marriage is a partnership, after all. We started setting aside time each week just to talk, to check in with each other. It helped a lot. We also made plans to take a short trip together, just the two of us, to reconnect and rebuild our relationship. It felt good to have something to look forward to. Our trip was exactly what we needed. We spent time exploring, talking, and just enjoying each other's company. It reminded us why we fell in love in the first place. We came back feeling closer and more committed than ever. Jacob eventually found a new job, which helped ease some of the financial stress. We were both working hard to put the past behind us and focus on building a better future together. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. We had faced a huge challenge and come out stronger on the other side. Looking back, I realized that this whole ordeal, as painful as it was, taught us both a lot about love, trust, and commitment. We learned the importance of honesty and communication. And most importantly, we learned that we could get through anything as long as we faced it together. So that's my story. It's been a hell of a ride, but I'm grateful for where we are now. If you're going through something similar, just remember, it's okay to be angry. It's okay to hurt, but don't forget to fight for what's important. Because sometimes the toughest battles lead to the strongest bonds.